Uh, let's go ahead and get started. We'll get started. I realize some other people will be rolling in, but I think we do have a good number already. Okay, so thanks for everyone spending some time with us today. My name's John Hines. I'm a VP on our sales team. I've been with the company for a few decades. I'm part of the founding family of our company. So this topic and just being able to show you EnergyCAP is really near and dear to my heart because we started these webinars many years ago, and we've always had good responses just to show a demo of our software. We're always happy to meet with you one-on-one. For any of those interested, just raise your hand. Well, not here in the meeting, but in general, metaphorically out there, just get in contact with us. We're always happy to show you our software. We love being in the software, and many of us would be presenting it to you. But we find it over the years, we found it valuable just to provide a high level demonstration of who we are, what we do, give you a look of the software, just so you can be informed. So that's really the purpose today, is to give you an overview, who we are, what we do, and a dive into the software. We are EnergyCAP, expert-driven energy management. We've been in existence for over 4 decades. And in the world of software, that's quite a long time. We've re-engineered our software through 8 different major versions. So we've had to continue to reinvent our architecture and had to code based on the then current technology. So we're on our 8th generation of software versions. We are a leader in the energy management information software space. We've had many awards over the years and continue to receive awards for our pioneer and leadership in this space. So again, doing it a long time. No one's been doing this longer than us. Our platform is used by over 26,000 energy, facility, finance users. Basically, it's being touched by 26,000 users. It's tracking over $100 billion worth of vendor utility bills. So very substantial number. We take that serious because that's high cost that our customers are incurring just to keep the lights on and keep building occupants comfortable within spaces. We have over 100,000 customers, but we touch about 4,000 plus organizations because we do work with partners and just other types of organizations that use our software for their customers. So, real high level or real deep footprint out there in the industry. Our platform finds problems and raises that to our customers. So it's constantly finding problems on bills and highlighting that to customers. We have a lot of documented savings in our software, and I'll talk more about how to realize savings. But through auditing and through other means, it's very reasonable to get anywhere from 1 to 5% just by deploying the software and using it to your advantage. We find that our customers are realizing a lot more savings than other solutions in the industry. So who uses EnergyCAP? Well, if you manage a lot of buildings and you get a lot of utility bills, it's the right platform for you. We don't really serve like specific industries. As you can see on this list, it's a wide variety of customers. The commonality being large energy footprint, many buildings, many bills. Some of our customers don't necessarily have a lot of buildings, but they have complex operations going on inside their buildings. So think manufacturing, where there might be complex processes that they need to submeter and manage or do cost allocation, things like that. But generally, it's for organizations that need to get their arms around their utility and energy information and get value out of it. In the higher ed space, we're serving more Division I campuses than anybody else. We have a high footprint in school districts, specifically the larger, the mid to larger school districts that do have a lot of facilities. We serve many state governments. Of the top 50 cities and counties by population, we probably serve about half of them. So again, just a very vast footprint, customer base that are finding value in our software. We also serve a number of commercial, retail, healthcare, transportation type organizations, property management. Again, a lot of buildings, a lot of facilities to manage. EnergyCAP is one platform to solve a lot of problems. It helps bring teams together to capture, allocate, analyze, and report on the data that is important to them. And we learned long ago, energy data has different value streams depending on your job function. So we've built features and tooling within the application to appeal to different job functions. So facility operations teams, there's various levels of functionality that are targeted towards those types of operations. For sustainability officers, there's compliance reporting, greenhouse gas and emissions reporting, goal setting, and some other things to make their lives easier. Finance teams, well, you get a utility bill, you got to pay it. And we all know, if you've been in this space long enough, utility bills are one of the worst bills to process from an operational standpoint. Especially if you have a national footprint or a regional footprint, and you have a number of utility vendors. Bill formats change, line items change, rates change. The actual format that you receive bills in can be a postcard and can be complicated and cumbersome, and those change. So I actually look at finance and accounting team members as having a really hard job just keeping up with old antiquated billing systems and things like that the utility industry as a whole has not really advanced on. So their life is really difficult, and we've made numbers of processes and reporting elements streamlined for them to make their life easier. And then last, for the energy managers out there, the ability to analyze data appropriately, prioritize projects, track savings, being able to justify more funding for more savings potentials in buildings, really high value. So EnergyCAP helps all these different types of job functions. The EnergyCAP solution itself, pretty easy to understand. It's a software application. It has base features and base components that are really required and necessary for every user. You would find that feature set is very rich. There's a lot to it. We then have powerful add-ons, and this allows organizations to expand what they're doing. And our add-ons aren't necessary for every organization, and that's why they're add-ons. So we don't require the upgrade of your subscription if you don't need to do some of these activities. But we have expansion or add-ons for tracking interval data through our smart analytics engine, through emissions and GHG reporting, through Carbon Hub, through automated bill collection and processing, through bill capture, advanced accounting functions to connect to accounting systems and post bill records and do accrual and budget reporting, chargebacks, which is the ability for the system to create bills. That's helpful if you have tenant scenarios or department or customer use and cost allocation purposes, where the system can allow you to configure various ways, methodologies to create a bill and then create bills for posting and for billing and things like that. And then lastly, a BI reporting engine that lets you customize analytics, dashboards, and reports and build those based on data within EnergyCAP. So some add-ons that allow you to expand the base capabilities. From an architecture standpoint, EnergyCAP's tracking a lot of different kinds of data. We start with utility bills. That's really the core data that EnergyCAP tracks. Utility bills get entered into the system. There's automated ways for bills to be entered. There's workflow built in to help the acquiring, the capturing, the loading, the entry of bills, but then also auditing, approvals, and workflow to get bills paid if you need them to be paid as part of a workflow stream. In addition to bill data, there's the ability to bring in what we call channel data. Channel data is pulse data. It could be 15-minute, 5-minute, 30-minute, hourly interval data from a submeter or sensor that is installed by you, or it could be from the utility. But the point is, there's pulse data that can be brought into the system for analytic purposes. Other types of channel data can be brought in if you need to track production or hotel room nights or beds, hospital beds, customer served, just metrics like that. KPIs call them. That also is a type of channel data that can be brought into the system. Building information is tracked. Really, it's helpful to bring in building data, and the data can be customized by you, exactly what kind of data you want for additional insights, KPI tracking, and reporting. And then last, emissions data. EnergyCAP can track and report on scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. So if you have scope 3 items that you need to report emissions on, those can be ingested in the system and reported on. So it makes for a comprehensive energy management and emissions reporting system. Now, important for anybody who's got an IT mind, EnergyCAP's built on an entire API infrastructure, and we provide documentation to the APIs. In order to use the APIs, there's protected API keys, but everything that you can do in the user interface of EnergyCAP can programmably be done through our APIs, making our platform incredibly flexible for your purposes. If you have a team of developers, you can use our APIs to do a lot of activities. There's webhook infrastructure as well if there's action needs to be taken on certain bits of data. Makes for easy integrations into other systems. We've built a lot of integrations over the years and continue to do so and support those. Integrations can either be done through APIs, or numbers of integrations can be done through file exchanges as well for systems that prefer passing data back and forth that way. EnergyCAP's a very secure system. It's being hosted in FedRAMP, which is the ability to host federal databases. So we have to go through levels of cybersecurity review and compliance. It's a SOC 2 Type 2 certified application as well. And we do continuous monitoring and vulnerability scans and penetration tests and all those kinds of things to ensure that your data is very well protected and we have the proper disaster recovery plans in place. EnergyCAP's a solution that's designed to save. Very, very regularly, we hear from customers within the first year of implementing EnergyCAP, they realize 1 to 3% savings of their annual spend. Customers then build on that, and many of our customers that have been using EnergyCAP for 5+ years have told us stories about how they've saved a lot more as they continue to build capabilities within EnergyCAP and use more of the features and uncover more and more savings opportunities. So we like to say we have some customers that are at literally in 25% range, and they document it through what we call cost avoidance, or the measurement and verification of savings, where they implement strategies. They need EnergyCAP as the foundation, and then it's tracking savings as they work their way through all of these areas to maximize savings, in addition to performing various energy management savings projects on the side, but using the platform to pinpoint those areas where they should implement savings and then documenting the actual savings. So EnergyCAP platform to help you save. Okay, let's get into the demonstration. Let's get into the software and let me show you around. So this is EnergyCAP. When you first log in, you come to a dashboard screen, and dashboards can be configured by users. I'll talk more about dashboards in a minute, but let me first highlight about users. When you subscribe to EnergyCAP, it's for an unlimited number of users. We want you to set up as many stakeholders as you think is necessary so they can log in and get access to the platform to get value out of their energy and sustainability information. Each user gets assigned a user role, which allows them to access various modules. They also get access to various bits of data. So you can define what facilities, what accounting, records they have access to. But recognize when you set up users, it can be for however many you need. And EnergyCAP provides the ability to do single sign-on and authenticate using your identity management system. Let me start here with what we call the sites and meters tree. The sites and meters tree is one of the main arteries of the application. This is where you set up, with our help and help documentation, you set up a hierarchy of information so you can organize how your organization needs to view and roll up data. In this example here, you'll see we have a few different divisions. Now, don't get hung up on the naming that I'm presenting here, but just realize there's a very flexible way to organize data. In this case, it's by division, and then we have buildings, and then underneath buildings, we have the commodities that are being tracked. You can have more layers than this if you need to, where you can have subnodes, and those can have additional nodes, and then you can get down to the individual sites and commodities. So there's no limitation on the levels of tree that you can build. So it makes it very flexible for you to group objects with one another. If I focus here, what you'll see is 4 buildings underneath this division. Underneath the buildings, you have these, points of service. Now, the first thing I would like to mention is about buildings or sites. There's properties that get tracked at a site level. So you have, the obvious name and any coding convention, but you can track address. Address is really helpful for mapping by submitting an address, and it could be an address. You can also do a lat long. That's also really helpful as well to pinpoint the exact location. Once a location is established, EnergyCAP will assign the closest weather station. The weather station is really important because EnergyCAP will do automatic weather normalization just based on you entering an address of a location. So helpful to add the location to link weather. Some additional building attributes are schedules. Schedules are really helpful if you're tracking interval data to allow you to overlay scheduling on top of your consumption patterns. You can also track floor area. This is all, I'm in the US, so you'll see units of measure being US, but this could be, localized. A lot of the units and currency within the application can be localized for wherever you specifically are located. In my case, it's square feet. There's additional custom fields that you can tag at a building. And this is an infrastructure that lets you customize what you want to track. So you can track yes, no fields, date fields. You can attach images or PDFs or documents. So this is where you, as an admin for your organization, can say what other metadata does it make sense to attach to in this case, sites. So a very nice infrastructure that allows you to customize additional fields that are important for your organization to capture. Okay. So that's a little bit about some of the data elements with sites. Now let's talk about these commodity points of service. In this case, this is an electric meter. This is electric, fire protection, internet, propane, recycling, refuse or trash, sewer, water. So EnergyCAP has no limitation on what you can track. Many of our customers, they start with the core utilities, electric, heating, fuels, water, sewer, and then say, well, what if I want to track waste? Well, no problem. You can track that in EnergyCAP. Well, what if I want to start tracking telecom? No problem. You can track that. Well, what about snow removal and lawn care and janitorial services? No problem. All of those things can be set up. Think of it as whatever operational costs go into operating your building can be set up as a commodity. You can set up the unit of measure, whether it's billable hours or just total cost. Any of those things can be set up and tracked within the system. So in this example, I'm tracking an electric meter. It's tied to an account, tied to a utility vendor, tied to a rate schedule. And you can also tie in general ledger codes. The general ledger codes are really important for the finance team to know what funding source they're using for funding all of the bills for this particular account. So those are additional attributes as it pertains to the commodities that are being tracked. Something else that's noteworthy, for those of you that had deregulated scenarios, deregulation meaning you can pick supply companies that you want to enter into a contract to do supply contracts. EnergyCAP has an infrastructure for that. In this example that I'm showing here, this is an electric meter, and tied to it is the distribution company. So I have the distribution account and vendor. And then I've also, over the years, have done some purchases. So I've switched suppliers. Well, EnergyCAP can keep track of all those activities. So all that to say, it can handle these really complex scenarios in the deregulated markets where you might have two accounts and two vendors supplying, billing you for service going into the building. So getting back to this main electric meter, we have all these elements. We have the account, the vendor, and the rate. Then you can track utility bills. Okay. Now, before I start talking about bill entry, I think it's noteworthy to mention there is another tree in the system. I'm just going to open another tab here that does organize all of your vendors and your rates. So really easy for you to go to one of the vendors. You can click on the vendor and get an overview detail, how much you're spending for this vendor, what all this vendor is billing, and what all rates they're billing you. So EnergyCAP is giving you this tree structure that organizes all of your accounts and your costs by vendor. Okay, so real nice to be able to report on that from time to time. So I mentioned EnergyCAP. The heart of it is tracking utility bills. So you'll notice all of these tabs up here that's drilling into different, functionality. If I go to the bills tab, this is where the system is keeping record of all of the historical bills that have been entered into the system. So you can see, number of years of history for this electric meter. I can drill into any one of these bills. In this case, I'm drilling into the most recent bill, the December bill, and I can look at various details. I can look at account histories. I can look at this bill as it was entered into the system, various headers to the bill, and all the line items that were picked up as part of the bill entry process. EnergyCAP also lets you attach the bill image to the entered record. So here I can look at all the bill details side by side to the translated bill line items as they posted into the database. So I mentioned earlier about localization. So within EnergyCAP, you're seeing here, I'm tracking US dollars, but realize we do have the ability to track any currency, and it can do global roll-ups. So let's say I'm tracking, British pounds or euros. I could track that locally, but then say, okay, now run a conversion so I can report everything in US dollars. So EnergyCAP does do that. When the bill's being entered, you would track it in local currency, and then it can roll it up. So I wanted to mention that for anyone that's, tracking multinational bills and you have multiple currencies, or just if you have something other than US dollars. So here we have all these details, spark lines, so you can compare this bill to prior bills, and then all the details that are captured. EnergyCAP also supports the ability to track payment activities. Now, EnergyCAP, bills come in, there's workflow built in, which I'll show in a minute, that lets you audit bills, validate and approve bills. Once bills are approved, bills can flow to an accounting system to post. So that way it makes it a streamlined process for your AP team to start initiating payments. We also have a service we can pay bills on your behalf if you would like us to do that work, if your AP team is struggling some, or you just want to streamline operations. Regardless, when bills get paid, you can bring in payment details back into the system. So bringing back in payment details just helps to, allow your operational team, they don't have to also log into the accounting system. They can just look at all the bill records, see if a bill's been paid and how much. So one-stop shop for them. Now, I mentioned bill workflow. There is a bills module that helps to organize all of the bills coming in, who's doing entry, what's happening with all your bill data. So there's some settings that can be configured, but one of the main ones is just the ability to run audits on bills. So there's a number of different audits. These are checks being run on every bill record that's coming into the system to ensure accuracy, to spot problems, so on and so forth. So these all have a different function. You can assign these to specific users. So maybe I want to assign some of these to Dave Mosman. So if the system detects a potential duplicate bill, Dave would automatically be tagged to those bills so he can do follow-up on them and diagnose what those issues might be. So there's a lot of checks in the system that are configured. So when bill records come in, any bill that fails one or more of these audits gets a little red flag. So anytime you see a bill list and you see a red flag, it just means there is an outstanding problem that has not been resolved on this bill. You can drill into the bill record and look at what the problems might be. In this case, it's saying that there's some gaps in bill dates. So something like I might be missing a bill and I want to look into that. So every bill that comes in goes through the audit, and then you're ready. There's some follow-up activities that can be done on bills, and then you're ready for reporting. For those of you that want to interface with your accounting systems, bills would go through another step where bills get approved. And then once bills are approved, they go to lists that the lists then get exported and passed to an accounting system to post on a timed interval based on how frequently you want that process to run for payment. So a lot of workflow settings built into the system to help your team organize and follow bills being entered and then posted. On the topic of bill entry, there's really two fundamental ways bills can be entered. it's either you do it or allow our bill capture team to do it. For those of you that want to do your own bill entry, you can manually enter bills. So, bills can be manually entered at any time. There's an infrastructure that allows for importing of bills. So you map an Excel file and then can import bill records through Excel formats. You can also post bill records to the APIs. If you want us to do it, our bill capture service will work with you to identify the ways that we acquire the bills, whether it's through logging into vendor websites and downloading PDFs, rerouting mail to our PO box, emailing bills to us or vendors emailing bills, you providing bill images to us, so on and so forth. A lot of different ways we can acquire bills, different formats we can process, EDI, PDF, paper, scans, Excel, so on and so forth. But basically, we remove the burden of you acquiring bills, entering them into the system. So that's a service we call bill capture, and it can be added onto the subscription. And then your journey would be at the bills list and just, looking at audit results and issues after the bills have been entered and then have run through the audit and validation process. Okay. Another process in EnergyCAP regarding bill activity is the ability to create bills. So let's say, for example, we have this center. So this is like it's a center that has a few tenants within it. So these would be common area or master invoices they're receiving for these commodities. And then down below, we have some spaces where there's a hotel in this building, there's a restaurant, there's 2 retailers. So what's going on here is the landlord wants to allocate, use and cost for these commodities to these tenants. So EnergyCAP has an infrastructure that allows you to do that. It allows you to create bills. So there's some logic that you can set up on any one of these that says, well, how do you want to calculate usage? It can be from sub-meter readings if you have a physical meter. It can be from a fixed amount, a percent, and a calculation. So you're basically virtualizing a bill from a formula or methodology you come up with. You can also apply cost and other meter line items. So this is a way that allows you to set some logic on how to create a bill for a tenant. And then EnergyCAP every month will create bills for you that have all of the calculations that you've told EnergyCAP to create a bill for. There's bill images that go with this and copies of bills that can be sent to the tenants for billing. So just be aware that EnergyCAP's tracking incoming vendor bills, but also providing a nice infrastructure to allow you to create bills based on different types of logic. Another really valuable feature in EnergyCAP, in addition to bill data, is tracking interval data. So interval data is incredibly valuable, where a utility bill gives you a 30-day-ish, depending on billing schedules, a 30-day snapshot of your energy consumption and demand. Well, that's great, but what happens if EnergyCAP flags that your usage is higher this month compared to last month or last year? You only have so much information to go on from a utility bill. And that's where interval data can be incredibly valuable to help identify exactly what is wrong or how your building is functioning. So let me give you an example of what that can do in EnergyCAP. So here I have a building where we're getting billed these commodities, and notice these spaces. So these are spaces within the building. There's a few different floors and some mechanical equipment. So this is all being sub-metered in real time from devices installed that have gateways that are communicating readings, and those readings are being ingested into EnergyCAP when available. So I'm just going to focus here on the second floor. Why am I focused on this? Because I'm sitting on the second floor of this building right now. So I am very aware with what this building's doing. Valuable here being we have the mechanical equipment metered. So basically, readings are coming in every 15 minutes, and I can then get a profile for the week. And even if I want to, let's say I wanted to look at today, when did the system turn on, turn off, so on and so forth. It's a very cold day here in Pennsylvania. So you can see that we had some cycling of the system on overnight at a couple different hours. Maybe that's intentional, maybe not. If I want a deeper setback in the evening hours, I would probably want to look at our scheduling system and say, why are systems turning on at 2 a.m. and then again at like 4:15 a.m. or 4:30? We can see a little after 6, like the system is starting up, HVAC is starting up for the day, and we're off to normal business hours, throughout the day. So really helpful to see how I'm performing, how our mechanical equipment is performing today. I could look at this on a weekly basis, monthly, quarterly, can split this up a lot of different ways. I can compare this to preceding periods, same periods. Really nice. I talked about schedules earlier. We can overlay schedules on top of this. So this is in our office, normal 8 to 5 business hours. And now I can see how our schedule fits on the interval data. So really helpful and spotting maybe scheduling issues here. We could also bring in the peak period of my rate, so I can look at how I'm using, what my consumption behavior is compared to peak. And one area that's really helpful is in heat mapping. So heat map, is a nice view. It's a bird's eye view of your interval data throughout the month. So this is the month of January so far. The darker boxes indicate more intense 15-minute periods of usage, and the light indicates very light usage. So you can see very consistently our buildings turning on, the same time about every day and shutting down about the same time. You can see weekends were generally shut down, which is good. And then we have these weird times throughout the week, throughout some of these days that we might want to look into and say, why are systems cycling during weird hours over the weekend? Is it janitorial? Well, the pattern of this wouldn't say janitorial, so maybe there is something going on with our system. So really helpful to identify that. We can also overlay schedule on this, or like maybe I just want to look at the peak rate. So my peak hours of my rate, which might be 1 to 6 p.m. And down below, it gives me the details. So how much of my usage throughout the week was on the peak schedule of my rate and how much was off. So very helpful. I can see 22% of my total usage is on peak schedule compared to 77, which is off, which would be good. It just means I'm trying to minimize the effects of my usage during peak times as best I can. So really helpful to have the interval data to drill into all of this in more detail. Okay. Another really valuable feature in EnergyCAP is the ability to spot outliers. And this is, there's a capability that is called groups and benchmarks. And this is where in the application, you can group buildings or group commodities with one another to spot outliers. You can also use it to spot savings opportunities. So what I'm doing here is I'm just opening a group that the criteria of this group is every building that's over 30 years old. But you can establish your own criteria. It could be based on floor area, the use in the building. So maybe all of your office buildings compared to warehouses or classrooms, depending on what type of organization you are. In this case, I'm ranking all of my older buildings cost per area, could be use per area. If you're tracking occupancy or hours of operation, you could do a use per occupant type of comparison. But this is helpful to drill into details to see what buildings are performing poorly compared to the peer group, so I can focus on those for energy reduction projects. So real nice infrastructure here to benchmark and then to spot, outliers, which then I can focus on for savings projects. Now, if you're implementing a saving project, there's some tooling to help. Number one is tracking the project itself. So what are the details of the project? You can bring in, attach an actual Word doc about, the description and the funding source of the project and all those details. So step one is to track the project. Step two is then to track the savings. And the way the savings engine works is, EnergyCAP adheres to IPMVP protocols to track cost avoidance and savings. The main methodology is you establish pre-project base period, start tracking savings after the project. What you're seeing here is a statistical correlation to usage to weather to see, real simply, does weather impact my usage? And if so, we need to account for that. Today, it's very cold where I'm sitting. So last year, or my base year, if it was warmer, it could have been 40 degrees warmer. I need to account for that. Like my usage, we need to weather normalize to throw out the weather factor. So we're just establishing, is usage weather impacted, and if so, by how much, so we know how much to weather adjust. We can then run savings, and the general idea of this is, did you save, did you not save, compared to base after normalizing and adjusting for weather, and maybe taking into account what we call special adjustments, just some other types of savings criteria that might impact the calculation. Overall, then we get a summary of what our total savings are. In this case, we've saved 33% compared to base, which is really fantastic for whatever we're doing in this building, which the project we were looking at was a recalibration of controls. So, just adjusting controls and, making some changes. Okay. Last couple things I wanted to mention before we end today. Number one is just about emissions tracking. So a lot of the things I'm showing you is based on use and cost reporting. There is the ability, once you have your usage on your data, to report carbon. So there's a whole side of the application that allows you to track carbon either at buildings or some other type of structure that you might want to report carbon on. So, you have usage on bills, but you could also then bring in, business travel. You could bring in commuting or fleet activities or other types of goods and services that you want to apply. So think scope 3 to your carbon footprint. Real easy in our world. You already get usage from bills. You apply emission factors to get your emissions, but you could also bring in spend categories, volume, all different types of metrics, and then apply emissions factors to them to get your total footprint. Additionally, you can track offsets and recs. So these would be, call them negatives towards your reporting. If you're purchasing recs or offsets that you need to equate into this as well. At the end of the day, what you want to report is your total carbon footprint, and then of that, how much is going to which scope type. So EnergyCAP makes that streamlined and easier for you. From a reporting standpoint, throughout the application, you'll notice this little icon up here to the top right. This allows you to run quick reports wherever you are. So I'm on emissions. This is giving me emissions outputs or reports that I can quickly run. if I go back to my sites and meters, again, quick reports right here where I can look through some of the popular reports, pick what I want to run, the output I want it in, and then run the report. So that's throughout the application, but there is a report library that allows users to scroll through the vast library of reports, set filters for the types of data that they want to run, and then run the report. So you can set filters, run the report to these types of outputs. This also allows you to schedule reports to be emailed to recipients. So that's what this function does. It says, if this is the report you want filtered this way, you can set up a timed task for EnergyCAP to email, and it'll just fire it off to your stakeholders. Last thing I wanted to talk about is dashboarding. So there is a dashboard infrastructure that allows you to create however many dashboards you want. So this is a look at a dashboard that was created that's showing a lot of different kinds of data in one place. So commodity this year versus last year trends, month over month cost trends, line items or cost category trends. So where are your dollars being spent the most on? Your savings calculations, how many flags are outstanding, performance versus budget. So there is the ability to create budgets in EnergyCAP and report performance versus budget. There's carbon reporting, and then a lot of looks at interval data reporting. So a lot going on in this dashboard, but it's very intentional because all of this kind of information is easily put together in the dashboard infrastructure. Dashboards can be shared with users and embedded in websites very easily as well. For every dashboard, if you want to, you can get a unique URL and an iframe that allows it to be accessed outside of the application. So it's great for sharing with stakeholders and, again, embedding in websites where this dashboard is literally outside of EnergyCAP and can be accessed by those you would give the URL to. Okay. I think that's a good overview of EnergyCAP. A lot more I am not able to cover today. We would love to engage with any one of you individually, so please reach out to us. I am going to see if there's any questions, and I noticed, Tom, you came off mute, so let me go to you as well.
Yeah, John, so thank you. First of all, that was fantastic. Just love the demo. Dave has faithfully answered questions in the Q&A during the webinar. So I'm not sure if there are more there, just because a number have come through, and like I say, Dave has answered them all. So maybe I have to reach back out to the audience and see if people still have questions, since a lot of them appear to have been answered.
That's right. And while we're looking there, the last screen I have, you can scan this. We have many webinars that we are hosting. I think, Tom, you and I both are hosting the next two. Feel free to scan and register for the next one, the next two that we have upcoming, and we'll have a lot more throughout the year.
Absolutely.
Hey
Just
guys,
stalling here for a minute. Yeah, go ahead, Danielle.
I was just going to say, it does look like we had a few more questions come in. I know, Dave, you're working on responding to one of them right now, but I didn't know if you, Dave, wanted to chime in asking the questions in a particular order, if you wanted me to just look at it and read them out loud. It's up to y'all, so you let me know your preference.
Danielle, I'll just look at it. So one, Ashish, if you're still there, the question is about emissions factor setting for grid variable electricity purchase. Basically, if I'm going to answer the question this way, I might not answer it 100% the way that you were envisioning, but for every point in the system, we have the ability to apply two factors, one location-based, one market-based. So that was an upgrade that we made, I don't know, fairly recently, where you can apply literally two factors. So as long as you have the market-based factor, we typically provide the location-based factors. We subscribe to various libraries and inventories worldwide, actually, that provide location-based, but you can enter on your own market-based, and you can have both of them and toggle them back and forth. So I think that's an important feature for those doing emissions reporting.
Yeah. John, I have one for you here, just trying to help you. I hopefully this doesn't make it harder on you, but I
Yep.
just scrolled to the bottom of the list. It says, how does the bill capture add-on manage bills with multiple months lumped together?
Yeah. So what happens in EnergyCAP is, and I'm guessing multiple months, meaning like a water bill where you have January, February, March. What happens in EnergyCAP is a bill like that gets assigned to a billing period. And normally a Jan, Feb, March bill would be assigned to the February billing period. So whenever you do billing period reporting, 100% of the use and cost goes there. However, every bill entered into EnergyCAP goes through a calendarization process. So we take the start date and end date, and in this case, we're talking 3 months. We would calculate the use per day, cost per day, and we spread out that use per day, cost per day. So when you report from the calendarized tables in EnergyCAP, you then have, the fair share for January, February, March. One caveat being, we do look at impacts of weather. This is different maybe from how other systems calendarize. We do look at, is the usage impacted by weather? And if so, we'll look at the weather during whatever period the bill spans and move the usage and cost a little bit based on what the weather was. So we really try to get accurate with how we spread out the use and cost of that bill. But
Yeah,
that would be
awesome.
how to do it.
Yeah. So again, John, I see Dave is answering a couple questions, so I'm kind of working in the list backwards from Dave just so we can try to hit them all. But so William Brown has asked the question, how are you getting real-time meter data and real-time run status of HVAC equipment? And are you developing control sequences?
No to the control sequences. So this is not, we're not controlling, we're not calling back, we're pure analysis. How we get interval data is through API exchanges, through file exchanges. We're building connectors to numbers of systems. Now, there is a difference between, say, an on-site BAS system or data historian that you manage, where we can do a file exchange or an API exchange. That is a bit different than, say, devices that communicate. If you have devices that only communicate locally, so BACnet, Modbus, something like that, then we can recommend gateways that can connect locally and then transmit readings over HTTP so we can pick that up on a live basis. If you don't have anything and you want recommendations, then we would recommend some of these same devices that have gateways where you can connect the gateway to cell or Ethernet or Wi-Fi that communicate out. But we need access to the data, so that's where the HTTP connector is required.
Awesome. John, maybe a quickie here. Does EnergyCAP track CLS for energy?
CLS? I don't know if I understand the question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This came in from Nick. Nick, if you don't mind, I'm not sure what CLS stands for either. Guessing I'm just kind of overlooking it, but it doesn't resonate right away. So you could maybe add to that, please, Nick. And then we had another question come in. This is a little bit of a longer question. I don't know if you're into the questions you're reading, but I know solar meters can be added for tracking into EnergyCAP. So need confirmation that, one, does EnergyCAP's EUI calculation also collect the energy reported from any solar commodity? And then number two is, can we link solar meter with Energy Star for automatic reporting? And there's actually a third part to the question too, is do the emissions reported under solar meters get calculated differently than other energy commodity meters in our database?
Yeah, so tracking solar, it's important. What we tend to recommend there, a lot of it is situational. It's hard to say, here's exactly how to do it without understanding more. But in general, when tracking solar, many of our customers have switched to creating, or I mean, there's an out of the box commodity, but tagging it to solar. So number one, it's very clear that it's solar. And then number two, you can apply a different emission factor to the solar as you would to normal purchased electricity. By doing that, then you're applying the right factor. So yes, you can do that. You can also apply negatives to usage. Again, it just depends on the exact use case on how we would build it for the EUI calculation. But certainly for emissions, you keep it separate from purchased electricity, then it allows you to enter two completely different factors.
Gotcha.
Energy Star, yes. EnergyCAP connects to Energy Star, so you authenticate to your portfolio manager account, and then can auto submit or manually submit buildings, depending how automated you want that process to be.
Yeah. John, again, great stuff. Nick, who asked a question about that CLS, and I'll repeat the question here in a second, but he seemed to have jumped off, but somebody else jumped in thinking maybe it was a typo, and I don't know the answer to this, so I just wanted to throw this one by you. So the question is, does EnergyCAP track TLS, or transport layer security for energy? Does that ring true? Again, it's not resonating with me, but I just thought I'd throw that out to you, John, with your experience.
Are we talking about encryption here? Because
that's how I
normally TLS is an
it,
encryption.
Yep.
The answer is yes for encryption, but sure. Yeah. I mean, it's part of our encrypting data at rest standard.
Yeah.
That's how I'm interpreting that.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. And I think that takes us to the end of the questions, where we had 14. And Dave, again, thank you for your working behind the scenes to jump on those long answers. You did a lot of typing there in the last half hour. And John, thanks you for the great demo and just all your experience in sharing it with our audience today. So I'm going to say goodbye. And John, let me throw it back to you. And Dave, if you have anything left to say, but thank you everybody for joining us. And John, back to you.
Yeah, you have on the screen the ability to look at the next webinars coming up. We appreciate your attendance on this one, and please engage with us if you have additional questions or would like to drill into a very detailed demo on your own. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the week, everyone.
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Mose, I'm leaving it open for you to finish answering the question.
Sure thing.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Daniela, you jumping off, or do you just have a quick second?
I will call you on Teams if that works.
Yeah, sounds good. Talk to you later, Dave.
Mose,
Right.
I'll let you end it. I'm just gonna leave.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.